Hi there, so the job that we're going to do today is we're going to replace a radiator, fit a TRV and add some inhibitor into our heating system. So this system isn't a combi, it is a standard cylinder central heating system. So first of all, we've got to shut the system down so that it's safe for us to drain it and to work on it. So first thing I'll do, turn the boiler to off. That lets it settle, and then what we're going to do is we're going to isolate the power to it. And you see the hive has gone off and the boiler has gone off. Must make sure you've done that. You do not want the boiler pump or any of the valves or anything like that coming on whilst you're draining or working on the system. So the next thing we want to do is we want to shut off the inlet to it so that it doesn't start refilling itself. So here we are, here's our tank. We've got our two pressure vessels here. So this is the working pressure of the heating system, so we can use that to check what pressure we drop down to. And what we want to make sure is this valve is turned off. That valve is the one that fills the system back up again, and we want to make sure that that's off. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to turn this tap off, which is the main supply to the house, and that's just a little double check to make sure that we've got definitely no more water going into the system. And it's just a little extra precaution that I'm going to do. So we're going to do that now. Here's a little tip. As tempting as it is to use one of these pressure relief valves to drain the system or to take the pressure off, don't do it. These valves, once they've opened, tend to not fully close again, and what you'll find is after long you'll start to get drips into your tun dish here, and you'll find that that valve is failing and it needs replaced. Quite a common problem these days. Quite often these are tested by twisting them to test to make sure that they release when they should. The trouble is they never ever reseal again properly and you end up replacing them. So don't reduce the pressure or the water in the system using these sort of valves. You're best off using the standard drain. So this is what we're going to be replacing. We're going to be replacing this with a bigger radiator because this one is struggling to keep up with the room. It's quite a large room and it's at the top of the house, so it does get quite cool. So we're going to be replacing this. Now in this case, this has plastic pipes. We've got a bit of flex on those, and it's just clipped onto the back, so it's fairly straightforward to take off. So what we need to do is we need to drain the system down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the lowest point, look for the lowest radiators. Hopefully we'll find some drain points down there. Now before we do that, looking closer at this radiator, you'll see it's got individual drain caps. Now the downside to this is to release the drain cap, you turn it inside and then catch the water, so you want to be ready with a pipe to put it over the end. So I'm going to show you both techniques of draining down just this radiator and capping it so that we can change it just on the valve fittings itself, but we also want to drain the system down because I'm going to put inhibitor in as well. So we're going to do both techniques this time round, so I'll show you both. So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to drain this radiator off. Preparation is the main thing. Got a towel here, got a tub to catch it in because initially it's going to come out of the end, and we've also got a pipe that fits over that we can put into our tub and help. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the pipe a little bit shorter because it's a bit too long at the minute, and then what we're going to do is shut off both valves, both hand valves, so that end and this one. Let's turn this one off now. It's completely round to 0, so that's off. Then what we'll do is we'll turn this one off as well on the valve stem then, and then what we need to do is when we're ready we'll release that, and then we'll undo the bleed valve, and that will allow the water in this radiator to drain out. This video is probably going to be shot at some weird angles because I can't get in at the same time as the camera whilst I'm doing things, so I'll do it where I can. So we turn this valve off. There we go. So that is shutting the supply coming from the heating system on the pipe at the bottom into the radiator, but it will still allow us to use the drain valve, which will go straight through. So next thing is we'll release the drain valve. And if we have a look at the end, you can see it's a square fitting. So we'll get a square fitting to undo that. So I went off to go and find a square fitting, and of course, if I'd been thinking right, I would have known. Radiator key. So we've got a radiator key that will fit in there. So what I'll do is put that on a pair of pliers so we've got a little bit more grip. Helps get a bit more purchase on it. And what we'll do is we'll release the end of this like so. Now it's finger tight, and turn it. Right, now you can see no water is coming out. Now why is that? That is because we haven't released this. We haven't, sorry, you can't see that, can you? That's clever. We haven't released this. So at the minute, this is under pressure. There's no way for air to get in and let water out. So when we release this, we should start to get water out. So what I'll do is push my little pipe over like that. Make sure that's pointed in there. Number of times that's not pointed right. Always make sure it's pointed right. And now what we can do is we can release this, and we should get water out. So what? I've taken that valve out completely because we want to drain this completely, so we don't need that in anymore. So take that out, put our pipe back on. Make sure it's pointed in the bucket. Trying not to make a huge mess, my wife will kill me. And then release this. You can hear the air starting to get sucked in. Closer look. And there we go. So we'll be able to get the radiator emptied like this. We'll get it nice and low, and then we can take it off. It's busy draining itself away quite nicely. Might seem obvious this. Prop this side of the radiator up, let the water pour that way, and you'll get it empty. Now, whilst that was happening, what I've done is I've unscrewed the top completely there and taken the valve off. We might need to reuse that, as we may need to reuse the bung on this side. Just have to see what the new radiator has on it, so we'll see what we've got. There you go, all drained, no water coming out, and I've tipped it, rattled it a little bit just to make sure as well. So next thing, what we want to do, remember, we're not undoing this. This has still got the water pressure from the heating system, so we don't want to remove this. What we want to do is detach this part, because that's what the valve is shutting off at the moment. So want to get this. Now when you do this, you want to steady the main piece so that it doesn't spin. I find using more grip like that, and then on here like this. And there we go, starting to come. Remember, keep your bucket here. Good chance you'll get a few more drips and things when you start to take this off as well. What did I tell you? Right, and there we go. Now, just remember, this push fitting here is quite delicate. Try not to wobble it about too much. I don't trust them, so just be careful with that bit. But there, we've got that end off. We'll now go and do the same at the other end. So here we are at the other end with the TRV. Right, first of all, don't take the TRV head off. At the moment, with that being on 0, it's pushing the pin down and it's locking this off. If we turn that on, we'll get water back in the radiator, and we want that off. So again, we want to just undo this, get a bucket under ready for the water that comes out, steadying it again just like we did before. Where am I at, may you ask? So what I've done is I've taken this off, a bit fiddly, but you got to get a spanner in there and undo it. The old universal couldn't fit in. Taking that off, what we're going to do is we're going to take off the PTFE tape, and we're going to keep this fitting because we know that fitting works there, and chances are we need this on our new radiator. Now it depends where you got the radiator from. If you've got it from industrial supplier, wholesale, that kind of thing, probably going to need it. So what we'll do is clean up all the bits and gunk and stuff off this so it's all ready for the next one. And we'll do the same at the other end. Take all them off as well. Boom, ready to go. Old radiator gone. New radiator. Ooh. Right, so like I was saying, on the ends you can see all we've got is these plastic transport plugs. So we'll get rid of them like that, and we'll put the other ones on. Now you've seen I've already put this one on, just a little bit of a tighten, that one's good. And on this end we'll put the air drain valve, so we'll just put that on, tighten it up, job's a good one. Remember to take the bungs off the bottom. Now this, as you can see, is a bigger radiator, it's blooming heavy, you might need a hand when it comes to fixing it on the wall. Now you'll also see, typically brackets ain't going to work, so what we're going to do is take the brackets off, work out how to put the new ones on, do that kind of stuff. Brilliant. And now the bit that I hate with a passion. Following the instructions for all the directions, where to fasten them on the wall. You see I've taken the old ones out, we need to put the new ones on. We've put little plastic clippy things on, so they're going to sit like that eventually, but we need to work out the spacing, mark it up on the wall, then put some good solid plugs into the wall to make sure it hangs on there, because there'll be a fair bit of weight once this bad boy is full of water. So whilst I figure out the instructions, measuring, getting it right. Right, put that one in, don't put the bottom one in, spirit level, get it level, bosh, second hole in, job done. See, that's how you measure them up. And here we go, here's the new radiator in place. So what we've done, you can see I've put this fitting back on again. Remember, PTFE tape on all the fittings, make sure they're all nice and snug. I've also dried it off with a cloth so that when we turn it back on we can check for any drips, any slight leaks, we can make sure no problems at all. So we're going to do the same to the other end. So what we're going to do, PTFE on this, fasten that in there, a little bit of PTFE on here and fasten it on. Always remember to use the PTFE thread seal tape because water will always try and find a way, and we want to make sure it's all nice and sealed, no drips or leaks at all. So I'll do that and fasten it on and show you what it looks like. There we go, that's back on. So then what we do is we put our little drain valve back in, do it back up, not too tight, it doesn't have to be ridiculously tight. What we've done is I'm keeping the air valve open at the top, so that means it'll fill up. Now what we can do is we can open each valve on either side and let the radiator fill up with water. Now you could hear the air starting to fill the system up. Sorry, the air getting extracted out of the system. So you wait until that stops, then the radiator's full, and a little bit of water will start dribbling out of here, and then you can turn the valve off, and then you're all done. So there we go. That's the first part of what we're doing today. Now, like I said, the second part is that we are going to drain it because we want to put inhibitor and change a valve on a downstairs radiator. So what I've done, I've skipped forward and cheated a little bit here. So after putting the new radiator on, then turning the water back on again, starting to refill the system. Remember to keep the air open on the top of the radiator, because it'll let all of that air out and replace it with water. When water comes out, close it up, go around all the radiators as a precaution, good idea, and make sure that you've managed to get the air out of all of them, and repressurize your system. Now, generally between 1 and 1.5 bar. So you can see here on our pressure reading, we're just over 1. Now you can hear I've turned the system back on again, so it's starting to run. So I've forced heat, so I've turned the heating right up so that it comes on and it's running through. When it first starts up, you'll hear a little bit of noise from the pump. That's just air going through the system. If it's excessive, it lasts more than maybe 5 minutes, something like that. Turn the system back off again, bleed all the radiators, make sure there's no air left in the system. You want to avoid as much air going through the pump as possible, just to be sure. So other than that, we're all done for now. I'll show you the new radiator in place and all sorted. And there it is, lovely new radiator, starting to warm up as well, which is ideal. Now what you want to do, run the system flat out, high temperature, with the TRV fully open, and what you want to do is check and make sure the radiator gets nice and hot all over. That also helps identify whether you've got any air leaks or anything. Now actually I can feel the top of this radiator starting to get warm already, which is a great sign, because of course air would sit right at the top of the radiator. So if you find that the bottom of your radiator, once the system's up to temperature, is hot and the top is cold, means you've still got air in there. So again, let the air out with the radiator key, have a little cloth underneath it until water comes out, and jobs are good. And I hope you've liked this video. It's a bit long, but hopefully it's helped you out. Don't forget, please do press the like button down there, and also subscribe to my videos for all sorts to do with plumbing, heating, electrical, cars, you name it really. But thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. See you next time.